Hi, Q babes. If you're in the LuLaRoe queue like me, waiting to onboard, follow me along in this journey. I'm Brandy Brown, B.MarieBrown, and I wanted to let you know where I'm at. So I signed my papers via DocuSign and turned everything in on April 21st, and it is now the following Tuesday, so post like 72 hours of commitment. So I wanted to tell you what I've done. If you followed my first video, you'll know that I like to film in the car. I've got my youngest one, Finley, with me in the back. She's sleeping right now, but she is 14 months. And I chauffeur and run around to dance, gym, soccer, track, football, and school, picking up my other two older kiddos. So in between things, I find this time where I can actually focus and kind of mentally refresh myself and make a video. So that's why I have the seatbelts. Speaking of which, look at this amazing top. This is a perfect, and I love it. I got it from an online Facebook sale, and I met a new person in the process of it that I connected with, and it's got like a paisley print. It's really fun. I paired it with a blue cardigan today, and it just was really casual, really great. I loved it. So, you know what I did my first 24 hours for researching and signing up. And today what I'm going to talk to you about in this video is where I'm at like post 48 hours and 72 hours. So, first things first, the queue to onboard is really long. So if you're anything like me, you want to research and have all of the answers and kind of be like snippy with it, like snippety snappity, have it all together. And the motto here is slow and steady wins the race. They are doing all that they can, and I can go super fast, but it's not going to make my inventory or my call come any quicker. So, I do work full time. So as you are thinking about how to kind of budget your time and where you might get some of these tasks accomplished, just keep that in mind. Like, I've had to pace this out over some weekends. I have done it when my children are sleeping. I'm sure that I've mentally been dreaming about it. Okay, so today I set up my LuLaRoe business accounts. I did a Gmail account. I did Periscope, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So I wanted to secure all of those, even though they're not active pages and some of them are not even turned on yet. I just was focusing on getting the name B.MarieBrown, so that I had continuity across all the platforms. So I would recommend doing that. The other thing that I did is I watched a Periscope Live video sale, and I actually watched a couple of them. I was just curious how consultants were interacting on that platform versus like Instagram or Pinterest or really Facebook Live sales. So I started to kind of get on there and engage. The other day, so on Mondays, if you're a newbie consultant who's in the queue, they have like a webinar training, and I went to that, and they talked about the 72-hour game plan, which I'd sort of been familiar with because my sponsor talked to me about it. And if you like Google starting a business with LuLaRoe, it's one of the first things that comes up. So, but those calls seem to be really helpful, really informative. Okay, so I firmly believe that you need to notify the other girls if you were looking at joining other consultants, having them be your sponsor, that you need to let them know that you joined, and you need to thank them for their time but let them know. You don't want to step on people's toes. So I emailed or I Facebook messaged all of the people that I was looking at. If you again are like me, you've been researching this for a couple weeks, and so picking your sponsor was no small feat. So I also followed up with a handwritten thank you note that I put in snail mail with a beautiful stamp, and said, thanks so much for investing your time and energy in me. And I will tell you that not one girl, and I sent out 7, not one girl gave me any guilt about not signing. Nobody asked why didn't I go with them. They all said, we wish you well. We'd love to meet you in person one day. Let me know if you have any questions. We're here. And a couple of them were like, well, even though you're not in our current, like our team, you're still part of like the bigger team at large. Like, you're still part of the homework group. And so it felt really good. And to be honest, I cannot think of another time when that has happened. And I thought it was going to be like a hard conversation, and it wasn't. It was totally fantastic. And so then the second thing that I did is when you are added when you're looking at, joining the movement, that you start to get added to prospective Facebook groups. And I wrote all those groups and let them know that I did join and I was part of Team Lula Loves is the team that I've joined, but that I wanted to stay on their group if I could, just for another learning portal, just so I could have more information, promising that I wouldn't eat up their time or resources and I wasn't going to inundate their page with questions, but just, to kind of go through their thread, to look at the post, to just stay informed because I'm new. Most of them said yes, and I believe that the ones that said no, have their own reasons for that. Maybe they're focused on their own team. I don't know, but most of them said yes. So I would recommend those two things just as a common courtesy, and I think it follows part and suit with the LuLaRoe culture. Okay, so I also want to talk about fashion forward. So fashion forward was something I learned about on one of the calls, the webinar training calls. And if you are not familiar with it, you need to ask your sponsor about it so you can get added. And then the password changes, so you want to get the password from your sponsor too. I've played around with Fashion Forward a little bit. It's got a lot of guides in there. It talks about the culture. It talks about common themes that they have. It talks about why they use certain colors. If you are a consultant who is not comfortable laying out clothing or making up, different outfits, it talks a lot about that on there. So it's really resourceful. So make sure that you check that out. It's called Fashion Forward. Okay, so the other thing I did is once I set up my Gmail account, I went in and I started creating folder structures. So I created one folder inside Google Docs, one folder for finances, and that's where I'm going to track my sales by month. So I will have March, April, May, June, all of those sales will be in there. Then I created a separate folder, a master folder called inventory. And inside that folder, I made subfolders, one for every style of LuLaRoe that will be coming in my initial inventory that I have selected. So for example, in the master folder, it's called inventory. And the subfolder, it's called Amelia dress, Carly dress, Irma, Randy, classic tee, perfect tee. You get the gist and where I'm going with that. So through my research, what I have found is if you download the Google Photos app that's connected to your Google Drive with that email that I just set up, when you go in and you take photos, you can actually take photos from your iPhone and have them uploaded directly to those folders. So that's why I'm interested in it. It seems like it's an extra step to kind of just save some work. So I'm going to let you know how that goes, but that's my plan. That's why I set up that folder structure. I have some notes down here. So I am looking at inventory management systems, and I've settled kind of between two. So there's a bunch out there, and I have settled between Boutique 360 and Shop the Row, but I've not reached a decision yet, so I'll keep you posted. But one of the things that was really helpful is I actually used the Facebook groups and I created a poll of the different inventory management platforms that I knew other consultants were using, and I posted that there and said, what do you like about it? Why are you using it? Help me figure this out. And so I will be doing another video on which one I choose and why, and so you can follow up with that later. Okay, so I learned about Facebook page versus Facebook group and how to set both of those up for your business, which is also something I did today. So this was kind of new to me, and I can tell you if you just go to YouTube and you YouTube it, there are some really great tutorials that are very slow paced. They follow right along. And so what I did is I just did it. I followed along step by step and set up both a Facebook group and a Facebook business page. So fun there. I also caught a video on Facebook events versus Facebook slideshows and how to do a Facebook slideshow. And I'm still looking at that a little bit more, but basically the theory behind it was Facebook events are kind of dying out. People aren't really paying attention to them anymore, and so now there are Facebook slideshow ads. And that has a little bit to do with target marketing, and so I'll follow up on that later. But I did get myself into immersing myself into that as well. So kind of like part A with that is that there's some keyword research that goes along if you want to do any targeted marketing through Facebook ads. And so I started putting together keywords that I think are going to be ones I'm going to use with that ad too. Okay. So, on your My LuLaRoe, when you log in, you have a thing on the left-hand side and it says assets. And under the assets, like back office assets, under the assets, there are different folders with graphics and the sizing guides and Facebook images, social images. There's also the branding guide, and that's what I want to draw your attention to. The branding guide is really laid out very nicely. And I would really encourage you to read that or even maybe download it and save it so you can have it and look at it later. Just easier access than like logging in again. It'll still be there. So here's why. They have laid out specific fonts and specific colors that you're allowed to use, as well as where you're allowed to use the different types of logos. They have like LuLaRoe, and then they have that square one. And so there's a really great branding guideline for that. This is important to me because I actually was looking at making business cards or ordering them through Vistaprint, or even there's a lot on Etsy, and there's even like full marketing kits on Etsy. And so you want to make sure that if you purchase one of those, that you have something that is home office approved. There's also been new styles added. So if you are shopping around on Etsy and you find one of those marketing kits that's got your size cards and your business cards and your shop punch card, all of that, you're going to want to make sure that they also have added the new style, which I think came out in March 2017. So, I haven't landed on that yet. I don't know which route I'm going to do. Business cards and stuff like that, I haven't gotten down yet. So stay tuned for another video on that. Okay. So some really neat things that I thought about today. I want to figure out what my motto is within the LuLaRoe culture, but I want to figure out like what are my own business principles and my own motto, and what are the ways that I am going to embrace gifting and blessing and being very generous, and what is that going to look like. And I think it's different for everybody. I have watched lots of videos where people stick leggings in their purse and they give them out away in the airplane. I have watched people give them out in Costco. Sometimes to people that have never even heard of LuLaRoe, or sometimes people that maybe just look like they could use some new leggings, or maybe they could use a break. Just somebody that you want to introduce into the community. So I think those are really cool stories, and I love all the social posts that come from it. But I think the bigger mentality is, how are you going to just give abundantly, give generously, and bless other people's lives? And that makes me really humble, because it's so neat to be part of a business that's at the forefront and the core of their model. And so I've been kind of thinking about like, what am I going to include in my packages? You know, sometimes the hair bands are wrapped around the leggings. Sometimes I've gotten candy. I've gotten little magnets that you put on your dryer that say like, stop, you have a unicorn, don't dry this. So just little things like that. So I'm interested in that. I have also seen where hostesses maybe don't make their sale. They don't make their hostess rewards. And like, what do you do for that? How do you bless that person when they've opened up their home, and they've cleaned it, and they probably like stressed out about having the party, and how do you still bless that person? So I'm thinking about that, and that got me thinking about the principles and kind of mottos, themes that I want to include in my business. So more to come on that. And then finally, if you go to LuLaRoe.com, there are two new things I want to mention. So one is they have a happiness policy, and it's amazing. It really addresses concerns that people have with quality of the clothing. And it was just launched today, and it actually is retroactive. It goes back many months ago. And so there's 3 different parts about it. You can go on and read it. I'm going to post it on my pages as well. But it's a fantastic policy. It's called the happiness policy. And there's several reasons why I love it. But one, it was a confidence boost to me, because a couple people that I have told I'm going to be a LuLaRoe consultant, one of the first things that they kind of snapped back with was like, oh, well, I've seen all these posts about how poor the clothing is, or like those leggings get holes. And I totally know where they're coming from. The LuLaRoe community has a huge startup upfront cost. And if you think you're going to buy leggings and they're going to get holes, like, why would you do that? So I get where they're coming from, but this just really reinforced that I am being submerged into a culture that really cares about people, that they care about strengthening families, that they care about the consumer, and they care about the retailers. And this policy is just fun. It's worded really great. I mean, how cool is it to have like a happiness policy, right? Like that's pretty fun. Okay, and so the second thing is there is a group, like a header on the page, called All the Feels. And if you have not stopped by that yet, I would encourage you to go watch it. It is a compilation of 6 or 7 video stories of how people got into LuLaRoe and why. And it goes over everything from husbands losing jobs to deaths in the family to not knowing where food was going to come to, like not breaking even, to bouncing checks. It's beautiful. I was bawling after I watched several of them, just because the stories were so humbling and they're like authentic. And truth be told, I even went out and connected with a couple of those people after watching their videos. I connected with them, like, hey, I just watched and I have to be part of you. I want you in my life. Like, I want to follow you. That's what happened. So they're very compelling, and I think you should watch them if you haven't already. So let's see. Oh, the last thing that I did is I researched how branding is important, and how to brand my business. And so there's 2 things. I'm not yet confident in this, but everything suggests that it would be fantastic if you modeled the clothes and you did the photos and, you had those of yourself like on your Facebook album covers, and that you really branded your business. And so, for example, I live in Southern Oregon, and it would be me and my Carly and my leggings, like going out to maybe an iconic place in Southern Oregon and taking a bunch of photos, and that adds some time to it. Whereas before I was just like, okay, how do I get my inventory quickly photographed and like out the door? It's kind of more like, how do I do this quick? And I think I'm going to have to figure out a way to muster up the courage to actually be photographed in the pieces. And so there's 2 reasons for that. 1, the personal branding element, and then 2, just that it's relatable. People that know you can see like, oh, that's, she's wearing it, that's how it would look on me, or it's just another piece of identity that I think will go very well in the business. But that's like a hard nugget for me to swallow. I would much rather like use their images. Which brings me to the other tool that I found. So just so you know, if you don't like that idea, in your My LuLaRoe in your back office, you have access to graphics and images, sizing charts, Facebook cover albums, all of that. But I feel like that's kind of the stock imagery, and there has to be like a bazillion people already using that. So how do you distinguish yourself? Well, there is an app called Canva. I'll put the link down here below the video. And if you're not a graphic designer, that app seems to help you be a graphic designer. So it takes your font and it considers typography, and it takes a picture, and you can kind of muddle it all together, and it presents you with this beautifully composed cover album or Facebook album, or it just adds a level of professional polishment that I think I want to incorporate. So that is not a free app. You do have to pay for it. But I think it was like $3.99 one-time purchase. So I did not download it yet because I don't have my inventory, but it's probably going to be a keeper. I'm probably going to download it. So I hope you enjoy this second video in my series, and I look forward to giving you another update for video 3. Thanks so much.